So in the last lecture we had learned the different types of supports. In this lecture we'll be learning different types of beams and different types of loadings that are put on the beams. So starting with this first type of beam, which is a cantilever beam. So it is very straightforward. A cantilever is that structure in which one end of the structure is fixed, the other end is free, that there is no support on the other end. So here in this example you can see that this end is fixed and this end is free, so this can be called as a cantilever beam. Same way in this example as well. So on the fixed support, all the three reactions develop. It is the vertical reaction, horizontal reaction and the moment reaction. Next is a simply supported beam. So a simply supported beam, as the name itself suggests, it has simple supports in it. So simple supports are basically these supports, where we just keep an object onto it, or we just rest the object onto those supports. Okay, so these kind of supports are able to give you only the vertical reactions or only the reaction in one direction. Hence these are called as simply supported beam. So a simply supported beam has two simple supports at each end. The beam is capable of providing reaction only normal to the axis of the beam. The next type of beam is one end hinge and one end roller beam. So many authors and many teachers also call this beam as simply supported, but it is not entirely true. This cannot be entirely called as a simply supported beam, because this when the load is inclined on this kind of beam, it is capable of providing you a horizontal reaction as well, whereas a simply supported beam, which is rest on a simple support, cannot provide you a horizontal reaction. It can only provide you reaction in one direction. So this can be called as a simply supported only under one condition, when the loading onto it is actually just vertical. When the loading is simply vertical, there won't be any horizontal reaction. The only two reactions which would be there would be the vertical reactions, and this is like a simply supported structure, right? Thus some would say that this is a simply supported structure, but it is not entirely true. Okay. Secondly, if the roller is inclined, remember, if the roller is inclined, the reaction to that roller will always be normal to that inclination. I mean, it will always be how that the roller is inclined. So if a roller is this way, you cannot show a reaction like this. It always has to be normal to the roller. Alright. Secondly, when the hinge is inclined, if you show, now at a hinge we have two reactions, a vertical and a horizontal reaction. Now when a hinge is inclined, if you show a reaction like this and like this, it is absolutely correct, nothing wrong in this. But you should remember that a hinge is capable of providing you reaction in any direction possible. So only these two are not the possibilities. You can also show reaction like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, or like this, anyway. Okay, a hinge is capable of providing you reaction in any direction, and generally when we consider x and y axis like this, if this is y and this is x, so it is generally better that we find reactions according to that axis. So this reaction is in the x direction, this reaction is in the y direction. Okay, but when we come to the roller, if it is an inclined, so this roller will definitely have a reaction only in this manner possible. If you want a reaction in x and y, then you have to resolve this reaction into its two components, then you will get the reaction in x and y direction. Okay. So this is the same thing that I have explained. The fourth type of beam is overhang beam. So you see these extra hanging parts, and these are called as overhangs, the one which are projecting outside. So the literal meaning of overhangs is it is passing over the support and then it is hanging outside. Thus it is called as overhangs. Fifth is both ends hinged. So here in this type of beam we have both the ends we have hinge supports, and it has four reaction components. Next is a propped cantilever. A propped cantilever is actually a cantilever. This is a cantilever whose free end we have provided a simple support. So this support that we are providing, it is called as propping. Okay, so this propping we have provided to its free end, thus it is called as a propped cantilever. And this propping can be shown as either a roller support, or it can also be shown as a simple support. If we are showing as a simple support, we do not have a symbol for simple support, but we can show a reaction like this. Just a reaction will say that it is a simple support. Next we have continuous beam. Continuous beam is a beam which is spanning over multiple supports. For example, even in our home, if we see there are columns in one line, let us say there are multiple columns in one line, and if a beam is passing over those columns, such a beam would be called as a continuous beam. Next is fixed beam. So in this we have fixed supports at both the ends. All these indeterminate structures, you might have seen that even in few examples before I had written that those are indeterminate. All those indeterminate structures are not part of engineering mechanics. They come in the later semesters for civil and mechanical students, how to analyze such structures, but in engineering mechanics it is not in the scope. So it is a beam which is supported between two supports, which is capable of fully developing the reactions. Then it is called as fixed beam. Fully developing means it can develop all types of reactions, vertical, horizontal, moment, everything, right? Now coming to the types of loads, we have concentrated load and or a point load. So a concentrated load or a point load is actually an idealization that we do in mechanics. It is done for those problems where the loading, where the contact area between the loading and the structure is very less, or it is confined to a very small area. So for such a case, we can consider the load to be a point load. Okay. So it is an assumption done in engineering mechanics for the load which is acting over a very small area. It can be approximated as a point load. So an example for this would be a person who is standing on a floor, or any object which is taking very small area. So those objects, the weight of those objects or the force that is produced by those objects can be considered to be a point load or a concentrated load. Next is uniformly distributed load, UDL. So you see here how this wall is there on the road. So at every point over the length of this wall, it is putting the same load on the road, right? So if a load which has same intensity over a considerable length is called as uniformly distributed load. Same intensity means it is putting the same amount of force at all the points where it is getting in contact with the structure. So for such a support, for such a loading, it is called as uniformly distributed load, or in short it is UDL. So UDL is shown like this, or another way of showing a UDL is, it is like this. This is a short way of showing a UDL, because every time you cannot keep on drawing the arrows, right? Now a UDL can be converted into a concentrated force, or it can be simplified into a concentrated force which is acting at the centroid of the UDL. Now a UDL, you can see a UDL has a shape of a rectangle. It has a shape of a rectangle, right? So the centroid of the rectangle is always at the center of the rectangle, means it will be like L by 2 and L by 2, correct? So same way for a UDL also, the force that we would be simplifying this UDL into what we are essentially doing is we are converting our UDL into a concentrated force. So when we convert it into a force, the force should act at the centroid of that UDL, which is at a distance of L by 2. Means if this UDL has a length of L, then the centroid will be acting at a distance of L by 2, and the intensity of this intensity of this concentrated force will be the area of this rectangle. The area of the rectangle, this point, this is the W, which is the loading intensity W. So W into L will give you the intensity of the concentrated force there. Same when I show it in this case, when we do not show all the arrows, still the concentrated force will have an intensity of W into L if L is the length of the UDL, and it will be acting at a distance of L by 2. In this case, if I have a UDL just over a length of X, then what will be the intensity? The intensity will be the area of this UDL, which is W into X. So it's W into X, and it will be acting at a distance of X by 2, which is the centroid of this small rectangle. So I hope you understood that whatever is the span of the UDL, that multiplied by the intensity of the UDL, you will get the intensity of the concentrated force, which is W into span of UDL, and the point where it acts is span divided by 2. The next type of load is uniformly varying load, UVL. So you see in this example, we have these pipes which are stacked one over the other. Now the intensity of these pipes over the bottom surface on which they are kept, it will keep on increasing. The maximum would be at this point, right? The maximum intensity of the load. Then it will keep on decreasing slowly. So you see that now the loading is not uniform over, but it is uniformly varying over the length, right? So a load which has varying intensity over a considerable length is called as uniformly varying load, and it is shown something like this, where we have an intensity of W at this end, and then it is constantly varying, and here we have an intensity of 0. Okay, so this kind of loading is called as uniformly varying load, or a UVL. It can also be simplified into a simple concentrated force. The intensity of this concentrated force, as we saw in the previous case for a UDL, it was the area of the rectangle. In this case, it will be area of this triangle that we have shown you, which is half into X into W. Okay, so this is the intensity of the load and the point at which it acts. Now the centroid, in previous case also it was the centroid of the rectangle. The centroid of the triangle, centroid of a right angle triangle, I would say, if we have this as B and this as H, the centroid will act somewhere here at a distance of B by 3 from the right angle end. Okay, always remember it is span by 3, or the length of the triangle divided by 3 from the right angle end. This is to be very important. Same way, this also would be H by 3. So whatever is the length in that direction, that divided by 3, 1/3 of that length from the right angle point is your centroid location. So here we can see the location of our concentrated force would be X by 3, correct, because X is the length in that direction. Same way, if I have a UVL of this kind, a UVL like this. Now if you have studied centroids before, the centroid of a symmetrical structure will always act on its axis of symmetry. a centroid of a symmetrical. First of all, what is a symmetrical structure? If I draw a line like this, then the left hand side of that structure should be equal to the right hand side. Means both should be equal to each other. Only such a structures we call it as a symmetric structure. So for a symmetrical loading or for any kind of symmetrical structure, the centroid will always lie on its axis of symmetry. So for this kind of loading, we understand that the centroid will be lying somewhere on this axis of symmetry and in the vertical direction. Now see, this axis is dividing this into LHS and RHS, both of which are equal. So it is, I can say that this structure is symmetric about YY axis. But what about XX axis? If I draw XX axis like this, is it symmetrical about XX axis? No, we cannot say that it is symmetrical about XX axis. Thus we can understand that now the centroid will not be lying on XX axis. It is definitely lying on YY. So somewhere along this YY it is lying, but it is not lying on the XX. And as we understood here that the centroid of a triangle is at a distance of span by 3 from the right angle. So here also you can consider there is a right angle triangle, right? So the centroid will be at a distance of h by 3. Okay. Another way of solving this kind of loading is that we can consider that it is made up of two right angle triangles. So this can be also simplified into two right angle triangles. Each of which is having a length of L by 2. I'm talking about this case. So here each of them are having a length of L by 2 and both of them have a maximum intensity of W. So the simplified concentrated force for this triangle will be half into L by 2 into W. Same way for this triangle, it will be half into L by 2 into W. And what will be the centroidal distance? The centroidal distance from the right angle point is span by 3. So the span here is L by 2. So it is L by 2 by 3, L by 2 over 3. So it becomes L by 6 in this case. Span by 3, it becomes L by 6 in this case. Okay, so this can be shown as like this also. It won't have any different effect. It is all, both are same only. So here the centroidal distance is at L by 2, and when we keep them as separate right angle triangles, we have two different points where the concentrated force acts. Next is the general loading. So this is any kind of loading that is put on the structure. It is called as a generalized loading. This loading does not have a definite pattern and represents closely to the idealistic or to the realistic loading pattern. Now this loading can also be converted into a concentrated force. The only thing is that you need to know this W in terms of x. So this W should be a function of x, where x is the direction along the length of the structure. So if this is a direction along the length of the structure, I should know that what is the value of Wx at this point. Okay, so I mean that if let us say W is equal to 3x square plus 4x plus 2. Okay, I get some value like this. It is a function of x. So if I put this value of x, which is let's say equals to 2 meter in this, I should get this point, this value I should get at that point. Okay, at 2 meters I should get the intensity, whatever it is, 3 into 2 square plus 4 into 2 plus 2. Whatever you get this, I think it's 27, no, it's 12 plus 22. I think this is 22, right? So this should come out to be 22. So if you have a loading like this, then we can call this as Wx, which is a function of x. Okay, and then what you can do is you can take a small strip of length dx, and the value here is Wx. So the area of this strip will be Wx into dx, and then you can integrate it from 0 to L. You will get the concentrated force. Okay, so we do not have to do this anyways in engineering mechanics. Just for your information, I am telling you. Next type of loading is a concentrated moment loading. This is generally a reaction from an extension coming out from the body of the beam. So here you can see just a concentrated moment is there, and we cannot further simplify this. Actually, it is a concentrated moment itself, and it is acting at whatever distance, let's say x. Okay, so there is no further simplification for this. Now what does this mean? That it is a kind of reaction which is coming from the extension. First of all, a concentrated moment can occur on a structure either due to a couple force, like let's say there is a couple force which is acting. So this couple force can cause a concentrated moment at that point, or what we can have is, let's say this is a structure, and at this point I have something like an extension of the structure. This is also a part of the structure only. Let us say I have a column here, and there is a horizontal load acting at this point. So let us say this horizontal load is 10 newtons. The distance of or the height of this column is 2 meters. I want to simplify this structure. I do not want that column. I want to remove that column. So what I can do, I will have to transfer this 10 at this point, A, B and C. Let us say A, B. At C point, when I transfer this 10 Newton downwards like this, we have learned before how to transfer forces from one point to the other point. So if I transfer my force like this, along with the direct transfer of force, there will also be a moment of 10 into 2, which is 20 Newton meter. So now we see how a concentrated moment has come at this point, right? So this is how we get concentrated moments on structures. They are either the reactions of certain structure, means now this is actually a reaction of this. I would not say a reaction exactly, it is actually the cause of that extension. Because of that extension we are getting that concentrated moment at that point, right? A concentrated loading at that point. And it is also due to a couple force. So that's it for this lecture. In the next lecture we'll be solving certain numericals in which we'll be finding reactions. Till then, take care. Thank you.